6 o'clock on December 12th, 2022, and I call this regularly scheduled called meeting to order unless there is an objection. Seeing none, I call this meeting to order. Councilman Seconder, could you please lead us in the invocation and the pledge?
Please stand for those who are able. At this meeting, help us to make decisions which keep us faithful to our mission and reflect our values. Give us strength to hold to our purpose, wisdom to guide us, and a keen perception to lead us. And above all, keep us charitable as we deliberate. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. It's my pleasure tonight to introduce Officer Jared Bradley. We're going to swear in Jared tonight, and we're excited to have him back because he is a former police officer with our department. Some of you may have remembered Jared. He worked in the department from 2014 to 2020, served for several years as a detective. He transitioned to another department and then to doing some construction, residential construction, but has decided to come back to Dunwoody. He missed Dunwoody and loved working here, so we're excited to have him back. Jared is a United States Marine Corps veteran. I know some of you, particularly you, are a counselor, and so I know you'll be happy about that. And we're excited to have him back and look forward to his service back to the city of Dunwoody.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Glad to hear. Ready? Okay, raise your right hand, please. Just repeat after me. On my honor, I.
Jared Bradley.
Do solemnly swear and affirm that.
Do solemnly swear and affirm that.
I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America.
I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America.
The Constitution of the State of Georgia.
The Constitution of the State of Georgia.
The Charter and ordinances of the City of Dunwoody, Georgia.
The Charter and ordinances of the City of Dunwoody, Georgia.
I am not the holder of any unaccounted or public money due to the state or any political subdivision or authority thereof.
I'm not the holder of any account or public money due to this state or any political subdivision or authority thereof.
I am not the holder of any office of trust under the government of the United States.
I'm not the holder of any office or trust. The office of trust of the government of the United States.
Any other state or any foreign state which I am.
Any other state or any foreign state which I am.
By the laws of the state of Georgia prohibited from holding.
By the laws of the state of Georgia prohibited from holding.
I am otherwise qualified to hold the office of a peace officer.
I'm otherwise qualified to hold the office of peace officer.
According to the Constitution and laws of the state of Georgia.
According to the Constitution and laws of the state of Georgia.
I will faithfully follow the legal rules, regulations, policies, and procedures of the Dunwoody Police Department in the city of Dunwoody, Georgia.
I will faithfully follow the legal rules, regulations, policies, and procedures of the Dunwoody Police Department, the city of Dunwoody, Georgia.
Congratulations. Thank you. Do you have any family here that wants to take a picture?
No.
Okay, that's fine.
Just me tonight.
That's fine. That's fine. Just didn't want to miss an opportunity. We want to welcome you back to Dunwoody. We are so grateful that you have chosen to return to our community and to serve the residents who live here and our visitors and the people who work here. And so don't hesitate to reach out to any of us if you need anything, and congratulations and welcome back. Thank you for choosing Dunwoody.
Thank you very much.
Just an FYI, he is a resident of Dunwoody and will also be taking advantage of the council's housing stipend that you provide.
That's really nice. Thank you. Okay. Next up is public comment. Mr. Hickey. And just as a reminder, if anyone wants to do public comment and you haven't filled out a card, they're in the back. You can bring them up here, and Mr. Hickey, you'll have 3 minutes, as will everyone else.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Council. I appreciate your time tonight. My name is Bob Hickey. I'm a resident of the city of Dunwoody. I'm here to comment tonight on the 3 items on the agenda. I previously communicated a little bit with you, but I'm here to say that the presentation of the nonprofits that's in the attachment to the minutes is very good, but it's very inadequate. It's a good starter, but it's not enough. And it should be more posting on the city website so that all citizens of Dunwoody should be able to make their own personal evaluation. It should be the facilities agreement and the financial statements, including a minimum of the IRS form, whatever the form is, okay? The second item is on the usage agreement with the Dunwoody Seniors Baseball. I think that is inadequate too when it comes to the 2 issues that I brought up to you. First one is on security at the events, the non-practice events. There should be a requirement in the facilities agreement as to the security that the Dunwoody Senior Baseball and actually all of the other events at the city, which are outdoor events, the minimum security that should be provided. You need to look around at those events and be able to see more security than I've seen at some of the events. I mean, when there's more police here at this meeting than there is at those events, something's not right. Second thing is on the lightning. There's at most of the outdoor events that I go to, there's an automatic lightning detector, which detects lightning, and the facilities agreement ought to require that by all of the providers in the city. And the third item is on the $300,000+ that's to be approved tonight for the nonprofits under the American Rescue Plan. There's more documentation in this one than there was in the $1 million each to the 2 nonprofits earlier in the year, and that's good to see, but I think there needs to be more oversight on that. And if this is supposed to be, as I said, if this is supposed to be a Christmas gift to a nonprofit, maybe Mr. Hennigan could loan Mr. Van Nicky his Christmas stocking. But thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Simon. You'll have 3 minutes. Make sure you speak in the microphone, please.
Before I start, take my comment for the record.
Okay, if you'll just hand it to. Just make sure you speak in the microphone. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor and Council. There are 3 cost proposals for TL007 dated 10/24/22. Alt 1 West Side 4 million, Alt 2 East Side 5 million, Alt 3 East Side 7.5 million. Regarding alternate 3 path plan. Who wants this path so badly that it requires moving the road, the entire Tilly Mill Road, to the west and spending an extra $2.5 million to get it done, just to put the path on the east side? Who is driving this? There's no logical reason. It appears it's political. The original cost for a path on the original side, west side of Tilly Mill, was $3.5 million, the likely side per Michael Smith. What happened to that? Less destruction, less environmental problems, less trees to cut down. Why was that path not pursued? We have given you a 4th alternate path plan on the west side, the original side for a path. This is a solution from Mount Vernon Road down Mount Vernon Place, down Tilly Mill, all the way to Womack. All on the west side of Mount Vernon Place and the west side of Tilly Mill Road. What is wrong with that path? Every person I have talked with who has walked or driven on Tilly Mill has said it is the obvious side the path should be on if a path is put on. It's the west side of Tilly Mill where a path should be placed. A fifth alternate has been given to the Path Foundation, not on Tilly Mill Road, but on the west side of the MJCC. It is a very good option. What was the real reason the path was moved from the west side to the east side of Tilly Mill Road? The original traffic study was not accurate and did not support the move from the west side to the east side of Tilly Mill. Michael Smith admitted that the traffic on both sides of Tilly Mill is the same. And then a second and supposedly a different traffic study was conducted over a 12-hour period, but still does not support the move from the west to the east side of Tilly Mill. Really, you don't conduct a study that will try to support your reasons you did something after the fact and after you have made your decision already. That is not proper. Numerous requests have been made for the PDP documents such as tree studies, hydrology studies, and others, and no response. Do they exist? If they do, please show them. We have been asked to wait till the Path Foundation comes out with their recommendations. We will do that starting now. We ask that the council and the mayor also do that and not talk on the path until the spring of 2023 when the Path Foundation comes out with their recommendations. Thank you.
Thank. Peter Cohane, please, and you'll have 3 minutes. Please step, talk into the microphone.
That's great. You spelled or pronounced my name
Right,
correctly.
we'll help up here.
That's all right. That's all right. So good evening. My name is Peter Cohane, and I'm a longtime Dunwoody resident, having moved here over 20 years ago. And in my many volunteer jobs, one of which is to serve on the governing board for the Dunwoody Senior Baseball Program. I also serve on their executive committee as the vice president, or first executive vice president. And I'm obviously here tonight to talk about the fact that our usage agreement is up for renewal in front of you all. And I know that the Parks Department has described the two important changes to the usage agreement as minor, but actually I would submit that the second one included in the usage agreement is anything but. So just as background, you all may be familiar with this. Dunwoody Senior operates 4 distinct seasons throughout the year. So we have a middle school season for middle school players. We have a spring season where we have middle schoolers and high schoolers who play. We have a summer season for adults, and then a fall season for middle schoolers and high schoolers as well. And those are open to anybody. The only restriction we have is age. If you can play, you can come play. And that's why we're so open to the community. And it's that last season, the fall season, where the proposed changes to the usage agreement will have a real and direct impact on our season next fall. So just to give you some more background, this past fall season, we had a phenomenal season. We had 31 teams. We had over 500 players from in and around Dunwoody. In fact, we had so many players that we had to turn people away. It shows that there's a real demand for baseball here in Dunwoody. And unfortunately, with the proposal to take 3 hours of field time 4 days a week from the Dunwoody Fall program, it's going to mean a reduction in the number of players who can actually play. Our estimation is somewhere between 40 and 60 players will have to cut for next year. And these aren't travel players. Like, these are kids who've never played before. These are kids who maybe didn't make their school team and want to improve their skills so they can play next year. This may be mom and dad sending their kids out to go play something and do something, and they pick baseball. Those are the kids who will be affected by this proposed change. So I ask for you tonight just to take that into account as you debate and discuss the updated usage agreement. We're certainly willing to make accommodations and make it work for everyone as best we can. I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, more field space is the real answer, but that's not something we can solve tonight. But in the meantime, I just ask for your support in helping us make sure this program stays strong here in Dunwoody. Thanks very much and happy holidays. Was that 3 minutes?
Thank you. It's fine. We'll tell you when you're over 3 minutes. Ann Hicks. 3 minutes, and please just speak in the microphone.
Do. Good evening. Great to see everyone. Happy holidays. I just wanted to thank you all in advance for approving the generous grant to the Community Assistance Center. As the board chair for the last 2 years, and I'll be continuing next year with my 7th year on the board, I can testify that these dollars will be put to very good use. This year has been a financially challenging one for us, as our clients have experienced dramatic inflation, rent increases, while our operations have expanded. So unfortunately, it's resulted in us having to cut rent assistance earlier this year to stay within budget. But the good news is that we have excellent staff in charge of these resources, including this recent grant. And led by our relatively new CEO, Francis Horton, who hopefully you all have met. Our Career Center was launched last year and it's really taking off, helping our clients achieve better self-sufficiency. But by the way, most of our clients come to us employed. They just need better jobs. And the satellite food pantries in Dunwoody and South Sandy Springs are doing really, really well. And other highlights include over 600 families were adopted this holiday season that include over 1,600 children. And they will be getting clothing, gift cards, and toys from members of this community. So CAC prides itself on our relationships with our clients who come to us. We have a really detailed intake process, so we understand what their needs are for food, clothing, better jobs, education, all these things we can help them with. So I just want to thank you for doing your part to support CAC and our mission, recognizing this organization's contributions in the community, helping the neediest achieve better self-sufficiency. Thank you.
Thank you. John Crawford.
Council, John Crawford, resident of Dunwoody for 38 years and on the Dunwoody Senior Board for the past 25 years. A lot of you know I'm a baseball guy. What you may not know is I'm also a softball guy. I coached my daughter from the time she was 7 years old till she graduated from high school. Then I coached travel and middle school softball for another 7 or 8 years after that. So I'm all in for softball too, okay? The discussion tonight is whether the fields can be used for softball. We think that if we scrunch our schedules around, that practices of a length of an hour and a half on the west field can be accommodated. And then we would have to play a little bit later and our games would have to be a little bit shorter. We think we can accommodate that. And practices on the west field, the way I would do it, put their home plate at second base and hit and practice into the outfield. That can be made to work. We can practice infield, outfield, on-field scrimmages, etc. I think that's something that the softball people, you know, if I was the coach, I would love it. Games are a little bit more problematic, okay? First off, games are longer. Every game that's played will take longer and will mean that we're not playing a game in the early time slot. We always play at 5:30 and 8 o'clock. The 8 o'clock game would be the only one that we could get in. The other thing I would say is, how do you configure the field? We've looked at a couple of different options. We recommended putting the plate at second base and hitting into the outfield, give you a nice field. City doesn't think that's good because potential liability of fans getting hit or whatever. The other option is to play on the existing home plate. If that happens, any ball hit between the outfielders is going to be a home run. Any overthrow at first base or a pass ball is going to be 2 bases in softball. So there are some issues associated with playing on the fields. The biggest issue for us is whether or not you retain the existing mound on the field when softball is going on. That mound costs $14,000. It's not easy to move. We've talked about maybe having a portable mound put in there, and there are safety and gameplay restrictions or problems in doing that. So we do not want to do that. If you want to play a game, leave the amount out there. We can make that work. Thanks.
Thank you. And Ali Mahab.
Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas. My name is Ali and I've approached City Council, I think a while back ago, talking about doing a supplemental report to Barry Dunn's report that they would do in regards to the Dunwoody Police Department. I'm simply here just to give you a status update to what I've done so far and kind of what I've gone through. So far as supplementing Barry Dunn's report, what I've done is I've actually worked a lot with the city of Atlanta as kind of I guess using them maybe as a control. They kind of figure out what they're doing that's successful and not successful that Dunwoody can rather mimic or at least avoid. I've attended their Citizens Police Academy. I've actually talked to their outgoing police chief briefly, as well as their new chief of police briefly, volunteered with APD, work with their APD foundation and community involvement. Then for Dunwoody, I've attended the Donut with Cops. So we have this Donut with Cop program. So I've actually attended that and talked to some of the cops face to face in regards to different things for the Dunwoody Police Department. I filed a bunch of open records requests, several of them focused on anti-litem notices against the city of Dunwoody and Dunwoody Police Department. Several of them focused on some of the cases that are going on against them. I've also done open records for about every resignation notice in the last 2 years from officers, because as you can imagine, that paints a bigger picture than anything else. You know, their resignation letter is kind of their opportunity to tell you if things have gone well, or even some of the resignation letters that are just, one word, I quit. It says a lot. So that kind of gives a little bit of a bigger picture. In addition to that, I've done a lot of other open records, looked at reviewed and sustained complaints from the city of Dunwoody for the last little bit as well. And then I've also met with Chief Grogan. I've actually emailed him asking if I can sit down and talk to him. Very gracious, open arms, made time for me. We sat down in the conference room. We chatted a little bit about kind of what's going on with the attrition rating, what's kind of the problems, what we can do as citizens to support the city of Dunwoody, all other good stuff like that. So that's kind of what I've done so far. Barry Dunn, I would have attended their community meeting, but from my understanding, I think they put it on like election night and gave everyone like 2 days notice or something. If they were to reschedule that, I'll probably attend that as well. Not sure what Barry Dunn has done to this moment. Maybe I have reached out to them at one time as well, but in its brief kind of sloppy way of saying it, that's kind of what I've done since I said that I would work on this supplemental report. And at some point in time, whenever Barry Dunn has done their report, I will give you my feedback and what I have discovered about the Dunwoody Police Department and different ways we can support them. So that's about it. Thank you and happy holidays.
Thank you. I have no more cards. That concludes public comment. There'll be another public comment section at the end of the meeting. With that, Mr. Litton, if you can give us your report, please.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. In the police department, the department is hosting the Christmas for Kids this Thursday, December the 15th. On November the 10th, from 6 to 9, the Dunwoody Police Department participated in a panel discussion related to sex trafficking at the Dunwoody United Methodist Church that was attended there. Also, the officers conducted a distracted driving detail in the PCID area between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. on November the 9th, issuing 35 citations and 1 arrest was made during that detail. We did have a really unique call at the mall where officers responded to an animal loose. A male deer found its way into a store and caused many thousands of dollars of damage. The DNR was able to get the deer tranquilized and out of the building. Officers also responded to multiple larceny from mailbox calls at the post office in Dunwoody Village. The Public Works Department, Winters Chapel Trail Phase 1, Wilson Construction is planning to have all the concrete work completed this month, with the schedule for final paving on the roadway depending on the weather. Could be in the spring, but we'll like to watch the weather for an opportunity to pave that street. Also, minor traffic delays will occur on Winters Chapel Road during the week from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Shamley Dunwoody Womack intersection, we've installed 280 feet of storm drain pipe on Shamley Dunwoody Road, and AT&T will begin relocating the overhead lines this month with delays during the week from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. We also did have the stormwater utility organized the 3rd annual Great Dunwoody Cleanup. A total of 13 groups registered to remove trash along streams in the city. Parks coming up next month in January, Martin Luther King Jr. Day of Service. And then also later in the year in April, the date is set for the 20th through the 23rd for Lemonade Days. And also in April 27th, Food Truck Thursdays will begin. So those are items as we move into the new year. Due to rain, the Veterans Day ceremony was held here in the City Hall building. The program ran as scheduled, including 120 choral band and orchestra students from Dunwoody High School. We have repaired all the netting issues at Brook Run, baseball fields, and the plaza, and all utility work and demolition has been completed from the fire damage at the shop at Brook Run Park that occurred on November the 18th. Our, let's see, under community development, the new green space at Ashford Lane is complete and getting ready for a final inspection. Construction at Campus 244 is progressing with the elevator shafts approaching the final 2 levels. Our new Quick Trip gas station just down the street is continuing progress. We believe that will be open in January, late January, early February next year. And then we had our Path Foundation Trails meeting last week on December the 7th, had our open house for that. Economic development, Dunwoody Village redevelopment plan. We also held a planning meeting between the City Council and the Development Authority last week on that, with those 2 groups there. We have the Inside Dunwoody, which is the city manager's Dunwoody newsletter focused on the 2022 accomplishments. There's a link within your report on that. Also, there's links on the D-News reports and also another link on the monthly financial report for October 2022. All that's available online for the public as well. The city clerk's office prepared all the agendas, summaries, minutes, and associated procedures for the following meetings that were held during the month of November. This is just a sampling so the public understands the various meetings that we hold here as a city. We had 1 Arts Commission, 1 Audit Committee, 2 City Council meetings, 1 Citizen Advisory Capital Improvement Committee meeting, 1 Development Authority meeting, 1 Joint City Council Development Authority meeting, and 1 Urban Redevelopment Agency meeting. I'm glad to answer any questions you may have. We have our staff present as well. Mayor, that concludes my report.
Thank you. Anybody have questions? Catherine?
Thanks, Eric. Great report as always. The Spalding Stormwater Repair, my favorite road project. I think it was about 5 weeks it was scheduled for. So now we're at 40% over. And I just wonder if for the citizens and peace of mind that we maybe estimate over and then come in under 2 weeks. And now it's the 23rd. And there's been a lot of rain. So I think it's an unfortunate estimate that we have given the citizens, because that is a really busy road and it's a big detour. So those are my 2 cents on that. The national opioid settlement, is that an amount of what is coming?
Yes, it's a very small amount. I believe the first check was, couple $1,000s, under 3,000 for a total, I think it was $6,000 that we'll receive for that, for our share based on population.
Okay, well, perhaps we can continue to use it for education. so
Sure.
that we don't have more settlements. Thank you. Thank you.
No. Tom or Rob? No. Okay. Tom.
Yeah, I just, right, for a second. I just wanted to draw a little attention to, I think this is new. I know we've tried to do events in the past, but in the Parks report, there was something about a Dunwoody senior group that's going to be at formalized meetings at the annex moving forward.
Yeah, that's correct. We had some seniors in the community that are looking for a place just to gather. And so we connected with them and tried to find out what they were needing, what they were looking for. So we've put together a time for them just to go to the annex. I believe it's on a Thursday, starting out once a month, just to hang out, enjoy each other's company. And hopefully we'll continue to offer more senior programs out of that, be able to start bringing in some learning opportunities for them, some educational opportunities, and just things to help fulfill their lives and make it better.
You know, I appreciate that. And I just wanted to highlight it because I myself have had a lot of people ask me about, you know, events for seniors and so I'm glad that the city's accommodating that, and hopefully this is just the start of something that can grow, but I appreciate that. Thanks.
Stacy. Joe.
Hey, Eric, thanks for the report. Just a few clarification items too. And Brent, if you want to just jump here. So Saturday, we also had, it was too late to get the
Yes.
report. Would you mind just kind of chiming in what we did on Saturday at the Vermac site? And I appreciate Brent for doing that.
Sure. And Brent, I'll lead in for you, but on Saturday, we had had a public meeting at the Vermac site to go over various aspects of the proposed park. Brent and his staff, along with several council members and many members of the public, were there. Brent, do you want to go into more details? I think you're there for a couple of hours.
Sure. So we tried to set it up in similar fashion as what we did on Roberts Drive several months ago, where we went out and did an overlay in real space at the park with cones and signage to show what each amenity would look like and where it's placed on the property, so people can get a real sense of how big a 12,000 square foot playground is and how big the play field is, where the trails are, that kind of thing. And we set up a table and took comments, and we asked people to take the site plan, walk the site, get a feel for what the park is going to look like when it was constructed, then come back and give us feedback. And I would say we had 50 to 65 people get their car stuck in the mud and get pushed out of the grass. But we had a good turnout. We had a lot of good positive comments. We did have a couple of concerns that I'll be working with Councilman Seconder and Councilman Price on, and we'll bring that back to council as a discussion item in January.
Go ahead. No.
Yeah, thanks again. I just want to thank, special thanks to Brent and the staff for doing that and going above and beyond. They literally have pylons laid out there. There was signs where things would be laid out, the informational posters and sign in and ability to have feedback. So thanks, Brent, for you and your team for being out there on a Saturday, and it didn't rain. Yeah, it was great. I also just want to appreciate, Eric, that you've updated some project websites now lately too, to help for public clarification, because we have this concept design. There's kind of like this visual where you see the left to right arrows, right? So just to confirm, I know that folks will go out to some of these projects now, you'll see a little bit greater granularity, like it alludes to saying we're working with the Path Foundation now on that, right? So that was recently updated, right,
Yeah,
Eric?
that's correct.
Right.
That's correct.
So, yeah, we're holding off on that one. And then the Tiller Mill sidewalk, if you could just kind of confirm that has not been presented to council yet for feedback. Is that correct?
That's right. And that's something we're going to continue to work on in terms of, more and more feedback
Right.
from the public.
Yeah, thanks. And just maybe we kind of level, so you mentioned it with the Path Foundation meeting on the 7th. But some people were confused of where we were. Some people came up and said, where's the plan? Can you just kind of level set where we are in the process and kind of let people know the high level, what that was about and where we're going?
Sure.
Mind just kind of,
Sure. Now, when we had the Path group here last week, it was an open house format, so people could kind of see, how the city lays out in terms of different paths and what the initial concept. Path is in their early stages of devising a citywide plan for that. And so as time goes on, there's opportunity for more and more public input through our website, talking to your council members, however you would like to give that. We can have direct access to the members of PATH as well, or to the PATH Foundation for their pieces of, for their data gathering, I should say. And so during that, council member, we do welcome any public comments. Nothing is set in stone for that. The concept has always been for the city to be more walkable and have more paths for transportation purposes, not just recreational purposes, but for transportation purposes as well. And that's been the goal of the city. Historically, the paths that we have put in, or the sidewalks, different things in the city, have been well received once they're in, and the public has a very good appreciation for those. But at the same rate, please submit your public input so we can have that information and that data, those data points of what your opinion is now. And as a whole, as a community, that's how we want to look at this.
thanks, Eric. And there's you can go online, and there's a feedback through the end of December for that if you
That's
couldn't make the
correct.
meeting. And then the last thing is a shout out for the chief and the police department. You got Christmas for Kids coming up on December 15th. That's just a great things to give back to the community. Thank you.
Okay. Just want to clarify one thing, which is when we see the Vermac plan again, what we're going to see is what has already been in the public, and then changes can be recommended from the floor. We're not going to submit so that, and you can bring other maps and other visuals. Brent can have all that, but it's important to not, we can't do what happened last time. There has to be transparency.
What I would like to see, and I've talked to Brent and Joe about this, is have a discussion item on an agenda where we just discuss the feedback
Yes.
we've received.
Yes,
And then from that, decide what our next steps will be.
yes, thank you. Okay. And I saw lots of deer issues. And as a reminder, I think we ought to sit down with DNR again.
Yes. And we
And-
are setting that up. We're working on that with our lobbyists to
Okay.
have a meeting on that.
All right.
And this year seemed to be a lot of deer all over the whole north
Yes,
metro area at that
yes.
point. And Mayor, I did want to say one other thing too. Catherine, to your point, yes, we will well taken on the Spalding piece. And that's something we do want to continue to try to hone in better on any kind of project that we do to be sure we estimate correctly. So I appreciate the comment on that.
All right, thank you. Next, we have the annual report.
Thank you, Mayor. So based on request from Mayor and Council, a couple of meetings ago, I was asked to get written reports from our nonprofit partners, just kind of on their annual programming and kind of some of the highlights that they experienced this past year. It's been a different year this year than it was the year before and the year before that. And I get a sense that they're kind of climbing out of a very dark hole that they were in 20 and 21, based on the reports I got. So I'm certainly not going to read through all of the reports that were submitted, but some of the highlights were the Dunwoody Preservation Trust. Their programs are doing very well. Camp Flashback was one of their most popular programs. It's a big camp that sold out in the first 3 weeks upon registration. They're wanting to expand that. They're very excited about the potential of having Vermac Park down the street to expand that program even into that park. Dunwoody Nature Center, their programs exceeded 10,000 people this past year, which is exceptional. They continue to see growth over there, and they're working on their facility expansion plans for 2023. So they'll be bringing those options to the facility authority as they get further into design documents for their education classrooms and other facilities throughout the park. Stage Door Theater, they have new leadership there. I think Justin's doing a phenomenal job on bringing some of those programs back to life. They've kind of changed gears a little bit. They're doing more improv. They're doing a art academy now. They're doing a lot more partnerships with other for-profit businesses and with other nonprofits in the community. They're coming out to more city events, being much more visible in our community. So I expect them to continue to improve and the theater to continue to strive. The Hand Weavers Guild, it's actually been really cool what they've done over there with their hybrid programming. They brought in a flat screen, put in a camera. This is something they had to do in COVID, but it's actually brought in about 46 new members into the guild that are all the way from Canada. And what they're able to do is do demonstrations and workshops online so people can be at home and have their own looms at home and learn these techniques. So it's actually a really cool mashup of new technologies and very, very old styles of art. So I'm excited to see what they're going to be doing in 23. Sproul, again, you saw their report. They got a lot going on, and Alan continues to lead a great arts program over there. They're still continuing to do a lot of activities outside of the building. That was one of Alan's goals coming in as executive director, was to be more visible in the community, and Sproul to be kind of a backbone to the arts in the entire city and not just in their building. So they're continuing to expand their program. The kiln expansion in the back of the building is almost complete, and it's coming along nicely, and they are working on completing their plans and permitting for their new expansion. We expect that to hopefully break ground in 23 also. Dunwoody Senior Baseball, amazingly, 48 years of operation. That is a feather in Dunwoody's cap to have them as an organization here with us. Again, they've increased their team numbers as they spoke about before, every season, but for the summer. And then we expect to partner with them on doing a capital project for some sunshades in 2023. Rush Union continues to grow with almost 2,000 participants in 2022. One highlight for them is that they started a junior referee program out of Brook Run, which is a great opportunity for some of our youth in our community to get some skills that they can then turn around and start making money on and being part of the soccer community and refereeing some games. And then we started out with MABL this year. They have 28 to 34 teams in the league, and they play 48 games at Brook Run. And 3 of those teams are actually Dunwoody based. So even though they are a kind of a Metro Atlanta league, we do have 3 teams that are based here out of Dunwoody, and they were able to squeeze in some games at our fields. So I know there's lots and lots of other information in the report. That's just some quick highlights, and I'm happy to answer any questions y'all might have.
So now that, I'm not going to say it, but now that we're back to whatever normal is, could we please go back to where we were before the pandemic and have each of these nonprofits
Absolutely.
come on one a month or something, whatever it lays out to be, so we can hear from them in person. And I think a data point that's not consistently provided is Dunwoody residents. Some did and some didn't. And I think that's really important. And I'll have some more specific questions after. Oops. You know, we started having them come because we wanted to share the good news and what they were doing and the community could hear. And I think it's really important that starting in January, just pick one and keep going. Thank you. All right. Anybody have questions? Stacy.
To Lynn's point, like Rush Union did a great job of counting Dunwoody residents and their participants. So I just compliments to them for that. That was nice to see. Remind me where the Chattahoochee Hand Weavers Guild is. Are they still at Sproul or are they at North Shallowford?
They're
still-
well, they're at Sproul is their main room. They do lease space in room 1 at Sproul. They do utilize the annex for some weaving. I'm not a weaver, so I don't know the exact term. Tabletop weaving. So they do have some kind of subgroups that meet over there.
So they're doing their virtual out of Sproul.
That's correct.
Okay. And then remind me, sorry, and I know this is a discussion, but they're a new partner for us, the MABL, what is MABL again?
It's the Metro Atlanta Baseball League. It's men's baseball.
And so they fit in and are able to work with DSB and everybody has enough field time.
Everybody has field time.
Everybody has field
I
time.
wouldn't say everybody has enough field time.
So it's just another organization that's able to plan the fields.
Yes, that's correct.
Cool.
Joe.
Hey, Brent, thanks for putting this together. You've got a lot of things on your plate. It's all about scope management with what we're delivering, and you're delivering a lot of stuff to the city. We were at the Nature Center on Tuesday with the Atlanta Regional Commission. We had almost 100 people there back at the Northwoods Pavilion, and they were blown away when I stood up there and said, this is actually a city park. So it is amazing. The people that come from, we had people from Villa Rica, from all these places that are like, this is owned by the city, but it's run by a partner. Yes. So really it is amazing. We take that, I don't want to say we take that for granted, but let's not take that for granted. And I definitely don't. In light of all that though, just kind of, I recall, you know, we have to pull up agendas, but it was back in approximately July 2021 where we created this new kind of template guide, right? Have they, because they have turnover, they've got new people coming and going. Have they gotten a copy of that? Do we have that readily accessible for those partners to download? It's a fairly short, you know, PDF. Either we post it on our website and just put them a link to that, but just have they had an opportunity to review that and look it over, and especially anyone new in the last year or two?
Usually we, again, as we go into the new year, that's when we kind of reintroduce all of these things. And, you know, their 1099 requirements and all that, we start pushing for this time of year. So we'll be going into 23, making sure that everybody's abreast of that. If there is any turnover, if there's any changes, we have a pretty consistent directorship, if you will, over the past few years. So everybody is aware of the requirements in there. And as far as I can remember, we have a lot of stuff coming in, but I think we are up to date with everyone and we'll be requesting it again at the end of this calendar year to update that information.
Right, and so as Mr. Hickey sent a note out, we do have on our guide that was approved by council, their 990 form and so on, filing that with the city. And for me personally, it'd be great, yeah, just to know who are the board members, because they do, the board members change a lot. I mean, well, not a lot, but we've had other nonprofits, right? We just don't know who those folks are. And it'd be great also just if we want to reach out to them, or I make a blanket statement, anybody serves on a nonprofit board, feel free to get in touch with us. Right? We're out there. Please contact us for your needs and wants. But where would those, when in that guide, there's 5 documents to provide to the city. Where are those posted and maintained? Where do we maintain
We
those?
keep them on our city network. I have not posted them on the city website, but that is something we can do.
Okay, so we do have copies of them at the moment, though. Okay, we'll figure that out. All right. Thank you, Brian.
No real comments or questions. I know you've already answered the fact of having the associations come and talk to us. I wholeheartedly agree with that. You've mentioned the financials. That's on file. Your staff reviews it. I don't need to see all that, but it's there if anybody wants it. No, the partnerships are working well in the sense of using our city property to the betterment of the citizens. So thank you all that you do. Thank you.
Anybody? Rob, maybe okay. Okay. Same. Okay. Actually, I have a question for Dunwoody seniors, but I'll just wait until we come to that item.
Okay.
That's okay. All right. Thank you. All right. You'll need to read the next one. Just whenever you're ready. No rush.
Next on the agenda is the first read. Request for a rezoning to amend the conditions of a zoning associated with cases RZ 18-02 and SLUP 18-02 and a special land use permit to allow a group living use. The first ordinance is an ordinance to amend the zoning map to update the conditions of zoning of the previously approved case RZ 18-02 for tax parcels. 18-34701-008, 18-34701-009, and 18-347-03010.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So for tonight's case, the applicant has actually requested deferral until the February Mayor and City Council meeting on account of they were not able to have members of their team present due to the holidays and scheduling conflicts. So to that end, staff does support that recommendation. If you guys decide to defer this evening, we would defer the first read to February and staff would re-advertise the case for a public hearing on February 13th, if that's amenable to you all. I'm here to answer any questions and the applicant is also here to answer questions as well, if there are any.
Okay.
I did just have one question, because this is phase 1 of a project. And as I'm looking at it, if we, in February, when it does come to a vote, how much do we lock ourselves into that entire site plan by approving phase 1?
So the overall development is split into 3 phases, but you aren't necessarily approving exactly one phase. We're revisiting the 2018 approval and they've amended one part of that approval for a certain portion of the site. And so that's what we're looking at. And they've introduced a new use as well.
Okay, thank you. That's what I didn't have those dots connected. I appreciate that. Move to table?
No,
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 we
no,
can't.
no, no,
What-
no, no,
We're
no, no.
deferring? I thought,
Wait, so they've asked for a deferral, but we don't defer if we have more than 5.
I think what they're asking for is a continuance to another meeting. Is that correct?
tabling it to another meeting at a certain date
me
and
ask-
time.
Another question, they're gonna have to start all over again with advertising. Can we just ignore this agenda item?
Well, you could take no action, there would be no action on it, but I think we need
Here
to
comes
make sure. the
Richard,
plan-
hold on.
Zoning, we get some direction from Richard. What do you want to do?
This meeting was advertised for the
Okay.
public hearing, so that's why we had to come to you all, so.
Okay, all right. So Ken, what's the proper language? Because somebody might have questions, so we don't want to table it.
Well, so Richard, let me ask you this. I think the proper thing, because we're in front of the public, is tabling it to a date certain for a first read
That's correct.
and laying out the agenda. When would that be?
February 14th.
That
No,
would be the first
13th.
read, February 14th.
13th. I think. Yeah, that's what it says. Yeah, that's what it says.
So, Madam Mayor, I think the appropriate thing is, if you decide to do this, is to table it for a first read to that date. That gives the public due notice of when it will be heard, and they will still advertise the normal channels.
Okay, so before we take a motion, because once we take a motion to table, we can't talk about it anymore. Does anybody have any other questions or comments or concerns? Okay, so now Stacy.
Move to table item number 4 until February 13th, 2023.
Second.
Moved by Stacy, second by John. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that passes unanimously. Thank you. Right. We are on to the consent agenda. Does anybody have any questions or comments, concerns about the consent agenda?
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved by
Second.
John, second by Joe. Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, I call the question. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none. Jessica, that passes unanimously. And I think, Ray, if you want to just come on up and get ready, and then you can just read the title whenever you're ready, Jessica.
Item number 11, review and consideration of Discover Dunwoody budget.
Hello.
Good evening. Good to see everyone. First, I want to recognize my team, the absolute best DMO in metropolitan Atlanta. Mike Jackson, who's our director of sales, Mark Galvin, who's our director of marketing, Maddie, who is a Dunwoody High School graduate, Madison Holtz is our marketing coordinator. So that's part of our team. We had a very good year. I'm going to try to fly through a lot of the stuff. I know it's a lot of information, and then the entire team will be available to answer any questions. 2022 was a great year. You know, we're not satisfied. We want to do better. Occupancy was 2.1 points above 2019. Now, we have about 325 more hotel rooms in 2022 than we had in 2019. So that equates to about 73,000 more room nights sold between January and October. November, we probably added another 5,000 room nights sold than were sold in November of 2019. Room revenue, again, we're about 4.1 million in room revenue above the 2019 number year to date. November, about 500,000 more than November of 2019. I will get the official November data probably the middle of this week. Weekend occupancy was 18 points above 2019 weekend occupancy, even with the additional room inventory. So very good. Every night of the week except Monday was substantially higher in rooms occupied than in 2019. The industry is back. Business transient is still a challenge, but the industry is back. Metropolitan areas are struggling a little more difficult than the industry as a whole. I'm gonna just fly through some of this. We look at how we're doing compared to the competitive set or some of the other communities. If you can look at the numbers, we're substantially growing our market share in occupancy and rooms compared to all of the other markets within the area. So let's look at the 2022 group accomplishments. In 2022, we have our hotels, our 9 hotels have sold or have contracted 81,000 group room nights compared to 78,000 group room nights that actualized in 2019. Look at some of the other markets within the area. The perimeter area as a whole was 23,000 group room nights less than they did in 2019.
Just dumb it down. Group means
Yeah, group typically, it takes at least 10 rooms to be classified as a group. That could be sports groups, association meetings, it's meetings business. So within the industry, transient could be leisure transient or business transient, and that's kind of one-offs, one room at a time. So our group commitments was very strong, and that's what drove it. Business transient Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday nights were a little slower than we had hoped. So business transit is not back yet, but in spite of that, we've done very well. If you look at where are we for 2023, and the data that I have was as of November 27th. As of November 27th, we had over 40,000 group rooms contracted at our 9 hotels compared to 20,645 contracted at the same time last year. So we were almost double the group room nights contracted than we were at the same time last year. I got a little bit more data. So within the last week, we added almost 10,000 more group rooms for 2023. So 2023 looks good. You can go and see we're still doing much better than our competition. So going through some of the other accomplishments very quickly, 32 definite bookings from Mike's team compared to 22 bookings in 2019, which is more exciting, 21,447 definite bookings from MJ, from Mike and his team, compared to 8,000 in 2019. From some of the other accomplishments was developing and implement the film strategy. We think the film strategy and everything that's happening at the Assembly Atlanta is going to drive a lot of opportunities for our hotels and our partners. We've increased social media engagements. We've developed the film tourism advertising strategy. We're producing a lot more video content for our social media pages. We focus the focus strategy on digital media, and we've redesigned the website. So for 2023, overall, our priorities are to become the destination of choice for the film business, partnering with the Atlanta Assembly, where our priority is to shift 5% of existing business coming into the perimeter area, but not staying in Dunwoody, shifting that business to Dunwoody hotels, increasing awareness within the Dunwoody perimeter and Georgia area, and increasing group by 5%. Another priority is to increase weekday demand. Again, weekends are strong. We still have opportunities on the weekday. So I'm going to go to the budget now, unless there are any questions on 2022, and I can have my team.
Let's just complete and then people can, if you don't mind, they'll hold their
Sure,
questions.
absolutely. So the budget that we're presenting is revenue of $2,251,115. That's based on 63.3% occupancy at a $140.96 average daily rate. That is about 109% higher than what our actual forecast was for 2022. It's 125% higher than the original budget last year. Expenditures is $2.2 million. with an NOI of 33,539. So when you look at it, personnel, we're looking at 683,000 for personnel. Administrative, 530,000, which about 31% of that is for a lot of local events. It includes the Create Dunwoody sponsorship. We're also looking at getting much more aggressive in sponsoring more local events each quarter. From a marketing standpoint, 46% is budgeted for digital advertising. And again, we're focused on doing a lot more within the film side. From the sales portion, 25% of the sales budget of 395,000 is to host more meeting planners coming into Dunwoody that we can drive. We have a lot of success stories from 2022. We want to drive even more successes in 2023. So you have all of this, looking through the budget. It's quite honestly, I think it's very conservative. I would be highly disappointed if we did not do much better than this. So
Okay.
good. Any questions?
I think we're done. John?
Thank you, Ray. I appreciate the presentation. I appreciate the work that you do, and I'm sure our hoteliers are very happy with you. Looking at the budget, the things that always concern me is the amount of overhead versus the marketing and the sales. Over time, how much bang for the buck are we getting for every buck? Explain to me how that's working in the last couple of years in the sense of the administrative costs. How much higher have they gone lately? Where are we in the sense of the administrative costs over the marketing and the sales? Are you on an upward trend? Are you staying steady?
The administrative cost is pretty flat overall. We're running pretty lean. I can give you the specific numbers. I don't have that now. We're focused on driving ROI. Most DMOs of our size try to drive about $18 to $20 per every dollar spent in room revenue. In 2022, we did $36 for every dollar that we spent. Now that's administrative, marketing, sales. We're much more aggressive on the marketing and sales side in 2023.
Yeah, I just see your personnel costs based on these couple of charts that you had. The personnel was at 683,000. The administrative is 530. To me, that's the overhead. And then you got the marketing, which is basically close to 600, and the sales, which are close to 400. So the marketing and the sales are, below the administrative and the personnel. So I just want to make sure that we're getting, or the hoteliers are getting the best bang for the buck, that you're doing what you can.
Absolutely. And one thing that we've done is we moved a lot of dollars for platforms, a lot of our website platforms. In the past, it was classified as marketing. We moved that to administrative.
Got it.
And so the marketing dollars that we budget are true marketing dollars. So all the website, all of our platforms that we're utilizing is budgeted in the administrative side this year.
Okay. And finally, she's not here right now, but we just approved Zoe Franciscus for another term to your board. And I just want to thank her publicly for the service that she provides, as well as the other board members.
I do too. I'm excited that she agreed to stay on another year. I think we've got a lot of momentum going on, so we're very excited to have her another year.
Great. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Joe? Mhm.
I've got a couple of high level, and then I might have a finance talk about the source of your revenue and the hotel motel tax, kind of just level setting that for the folks in the public, and then what shares go to you and what shares go back to city, and what is that legally can be used for, because when people see numbers, they kind of want to know. But hold that thought. Again, I might have Richard, if he needs a little clear from finance, to just clarify that. But first of all, I just am super happy about the Create Dunwoody partnership. So I need a couple of big pages on that Create Dunwoody. So can you just kind of help toot the horn and give a little refresher on that initiative, the partnership, and what you really see happening? What do you think is what do you see happening with that?
So yeah, the Create Dunwoody partnership, the city has agreed to fund at the cost of $35,000 a year. The Development Authority is also contributing $35,000 and Discover Dunwoody. So there's $105,000 a year that we've committed for the next 3 years. They're in the process of trying to hire an executive director. It's been strictly a volunteer board. What we see is really driving more room nights during need dates. One of the things that I'm focused on is I have some data that I can look 365 days out and see how many reservations we have in our hotel room. So we're excited about partnering so we can create some events to drive new business into Dunwoody over need dates. If we're going to sell out, it doesn't do us any good to create, to invest money when there's not a lot of return on that. But we see, developing a lot more events. That's what we're focused on is trying to make sure that we're driving additional room nights and building more brand equity for Discover Dunwoody and for Dunwoody as a whole.
And just anecdotally, I mean, we hear about office vacancies and people not working now. That's not business travel, but yet that is all an ecosystem related, but yet it seems contrary. What is your gut feeling? What's the market saying out there where hotel or, it's you got the greater increase in the hotel, but yet we may have more vacancies, but it's, so you're looking good. So what do you think is going on macroeconomically with that?
Well, quite honestly, we need business travel to be back. Business travel will not come back fully until the office occupancy is much greater. So, what we're hearing, it's slow to come back. A lot of the organizations are really looking to see how the economy is going to do next year. I think there's been some challenges with people being strictly remote. So a lot of organizations are encouraging more and more people to come to the office, which will create more business travel. Business travel, I mean, we're substantially, our ADR, average daily rate, our ADR Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday traditionally was extremely strong because of business travel. That's an opportunity.
And then this goes back on the finance space of the house. So in your budget, maybe you could tell me the line, I mean, just kind of dumb it down for me. Your revenue source is from the hotel motel tax, correct?
So,
And just, there are certain high level, what can you do with that money? You guys know what you can and cannot do with that generally off the top of your head, just to kind of let the public know there's certain things you can do and certain things you can't do as a DMO, correct?
right. So Dunwoody has an 8% occupancy tax. Discover Dunwoody gets 3%. The city gets 5%. Our focus is to use that money to market Dunwoody, market our hotels and our partners to drive more out-of-town business to produce more. The revenue budget that I presented is based upon, we have 2,100 rooms in Dunwoody. Multiply that by 365 days, the 61% occupancy at the average rate. That's where and look at 3%. That's where you come up with the revenue.
Sure, thanks. I just wanted to level set that for the greater public. It might not know where your revenue is coming from. And the last thing, and I'll turn it over. Think about having a rodeo in Dunwoody. Done.
Stacy.
The partnership with the film industry, like besides a higher room rate, like how do you guys, I guess, what is the potential there? And other than them going from the set to the bed, like, I guess, give me more details on how you see that working and what all besides beds and heads.
Sure, absolutely. So with everything happening in Dorville with Assembly Atlanta, by June, NBC Universal will take possession of 18 sound stages. In addition to what Third Rail already has, that will add, I think, 21, 22 sound stages in the area. Within the industry right now, they don't think of Dunwoody. They think of Buckhead, Midtown, and downtown. What we're focused on, within the industry, they think of above the line and below the line. Above the line is the directors, the producers, the movie stars. Below the line are the other production folks. That's kind of what our focus is. It's good rate. More importantly, it's long-term. So it's extended stay. So we have a piece of business that we've presented to our hotels that they're trying to, finalize in January. It's probably going to be 60 days. So 7 days a week for 60 days at a pretty good rate. That's what's going to help our hotels. It's supply and demand. The more we shrink the inventory, the higher rates that the hotels can offer for these other rooms that they're having. So that's our focus. Gray Communication, which owns the Assembly Atlanta, is really, I think Mark was at a meeting last week, Mark and Maddie, and they basically indicated that Georgia will have more square footage of film of studios than LA by the end of next year. So the business is just going to continue to grow. I really believe with what they're doing at the Assembly Atlanta, it will create some leisure demand, hopefully starting in 2024, that we can start getting more people just a vacation in Dunwoody so they can go and do studio tours at Assembly Atlanta.
So we were at 60% occupancy for 2022 through October. What was remind me, what was the 2022 budget for occupancy? What did you?
I'd have to think it was probably in the mid 50s. The budget overall in room revenue was about 1.75. And I think we're going to wind up doing about 2.1.
Okay.
So you're looking at that from room revenue, because that's what we look at. I think we budgeted to do about 56 million in room revenue, and we're going to be, closer to 61 million in room revenue in 2022.
And then my next question is, this is just because it was on the agenda earlier, and that is we have Rush Union that had a fall tournament with 172 teams, a spring tournament with 145 teams, and Dunwoody Senior Baseball with 450 tournament games all within our city limits. Do we get any room nights from those?
We did. So I can't give you the specific amount, but we do.
Okay.
And we're constantly working to make sure that we're capturing the room nights. Sometimes the rate, hurts us a little bit. It's kind of like when we talk about some events that Dunwoody, within the Dunwoody submarket, we're just below Buckhead in the average daily rate.
Okay.
So Buckhead, Dunwoody, with our 9 hotels, we don't have any economy hotels. So we have a pretty strong rate, so it prohibits some groups from staying in our properties.
Thank you. I'm done.
Catherine, anything?
Just a comment, I did have the pleasure of serving on this board for several years, and I'm delighted by the service you provide to the citizens. And I don't think it's always clear that this is a thriving industry that helps our residents lower their tax rate, because we have so many great hotels here and they feed our restaurants and all that. So I just want to say I'm very excited about this foray into being the film hotel space for the area. So good luck, and we'll look forward to seeing your progress there.
Well, thank you.
I'll just comment that once again, the left side of the table covered most of the one thing I'll add just on Catherine's comment is that, the city gets 5% and we used some of that for the new park that is over. And hopefully once that's open, that'll help with the provide an amenity for folks staying in the hotels as well as the apartments in that area.
Yeah, thank you, Ray. And I agree with the strategy of targeting the film industry. We were at the DeKalb Municipal Association annual meeting last week. And CEO Thurman was talking about that is not just going to be another dot on the map. That's going to be a very, very active studio for NBC Universal. I forgot the percentage, so I don't want to misquote it, but it was a very significant amount of their productions are going to be filmed right there. So that is a great opportunity, and I'm glad we're targeting that. I think we're perfectly positioned to take advantage of that great facility in our neighbors' boundaries, but we can certainly benefit from that. So I thank you for doing that. One of the things, it's funny, we're talking about like the sports teams that are traveling here. And I used to be a team manager. I was actually used to book travel for my teams for several years. And one of the things, obviously you're looking at room rate, which is important when families are spending a significant amount of time traveling, but also is the amenities that are nearby. We want to stay in a spot that you could park the car in the parking deck and you can walk to dinner, you could walk to shop, and we deliver that in the perimeter. And I know we've talked about this in the past. I would love if with our sports organizations, we can market that, that also be a focus, because that is a good opportunity there. And I know there's difficulty in capturing. I know sometimes with these tournaments, they're booked through an outside travel agency and teams have to book through that. So I know it gets complicated, but I also think that's a great opportunity. When you're speaking with our hotels, what are the things that we can do as a city that will help draw more heads and beds, more people to the properties, more people to the city? Because obviously the more people that are coming in and staying in hotels, not only the tax revenue, but as was pointed out, they're shopping in our stores, they're dining in our restaurants, they're having entertainment here, and that helps the city across the board. So what are the things that we hear from the hotels that we can do perhaps to help with that?
I think one thing that we hear from the hotels is the transportation, the travel issues. So the more that we've, are able to alleviate that and to provide more seamless travel to and from, everything, I think that's what they're looking for. But the hotels, I think, are excited about what's going on. And to answer your question about the sports, one thing that we're doing very aggressively from a marketing standpoint is even if there's an event in downtown, we're doing a lot of pay-per-click and search engine optimization to try to drive people because of the convenience of MARTA and the fact that you're right, people don't want to stay downtown. You can stay here very conveniently, get on MARTA, go if you're doing something downtown. And then, there's a lot more opportunities to shop. There's a lot more opportunities for the family. It's safer. So we're focused on promoting that. Not only just events that we've, booked here in the area, but if we see something at Lake Point or downtown, or we see something in Cobb, over at the baseball stadium, we're trying to drive people here and talk about the convenience of Dunwoody and the benefits of everything. And then one thing I was, Stacy, you mentioned, what else with our partners with the CAC, which we're excited when everything is happening at the Assembly Atlanta, they spend a lot of money in thrift stores. And so we actually bought an ad for all 9 of our hotels in the Georgia Film Directory, but we also bought one, have the CAC, because they can go spend money, because they will, if they're shooting something, they may immediately say, we need fall wardrobe. So they'll want to go to a thrift store, pick it out. We talked to the director. He said, hey, we could even open it up at night and let them. And then the exciting thing is not only do they make the money, when they're done, they donate them back. So we think there's a lot, we're trying to learn this industry. We're working with some some people with, Explore Georgia. We have some pretty strong partners within the film that's trying to make sure we're focused on the right direction.
Anybody, Tom, were you done? Okay. So one of the interesting things I learned recently is that when productions have a lot of equipment and they're staying at hotels, that we're the closest, best location if they're filming downtown or north, that has the nicer hotels that have access to parking, because we have a lot of parking, which and I thought that was interesting, so that Meridian is getting some business they might not have otherwise gotten because they can work with the office park next door to park. I mean, it looked like they were filming there, but they were not. That's just where they were staying. And also that's like when they're looking for somewhere to shoot, the first challenge they face is parking, and that's the first thing they look for before they do a final site selection. I thought that was interesting. I just had a quick question about one of the pages in here, and when you were comparing us to our neighbors, and I'm a little confused because it sounded like you were very positive, but the numbers, the increased revenue index versus competitors versus 2019, it's way towards the beginning, both in the occupancy and the room night rate. Am I to understand that we're actually, I'm not being critical, I'm just asking a question, that we're lagging? So I'm reading it wrong.
Yeah, so this is the increase in the index. So in 2019, for example, Dunwoody hotels achieved about 85% occupancy index. The goal for the hotels is to be 100%, meaning you're getting your fair share. There's 1,000 rooms in the market, you have 100, you should be getting 10% of that just to get your fair share. So between 2019 to 2022, we've grown our fair share substantially against all of our competition. Now, from a revenue standpoint, even in 2019, our revenue was pretty strong. So we were probably at 120% revenue index, but we were still able to grow that, compared to 2019. So it's a little, I probably could have did that a little bit different, but we're growing. If you look at the very back page, or one of the very back page, it shows you the specifics. It's,
Oh, I see.
yeah, that will show you exactly how those numbers came about. So if you look at the perimeter area, in 2019, we were at 88% occupancy index. We're at 95.1% in 2022, even with additional hotel rooms. So there's some, it skewed a little bit, especially against Sandy Springs, because the data that we got in 2019 from Sandy Springs did not include all of their hotels.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, Ray, one more question, if I may. Early on, you were the Dunwoody Convention and Visitors Bureau, rebranded Discover Dunwoody. Do you have any aspect of your budget looking at researching, seeing the feasibility of having additional convention space within the city of Dunwoody?
We have not budgeted anything, but that's something, we do have money budgeted for research. So it could be a lot of different things.
There's possibilities of new hotels being directly adjacent to the MARTA. There's redevelopment possibilities. I mean, the mall might not last forever. There may be an open parking spot that may want to redevelop in a convention center of some aspect. I'm not sure of the funding. I'm sure you can't fund it all yourself, but I would love to have, if appropriate, talk to staff, thinking about with your board, but some small portion of funding to look at the feasibility of a convention center, whatever size, shape, whatever is appropriate for the market. I would love to have you do some research to figure out if and when that could be available. Someday there may be a hotel that comes and asks that question, and you would be prepared to answer those questions. I think that would be money well spent.
Absolutely. I think that's a great point. I know that we've had conversation that, additional hotels in Dunwoody, at what point is enough. The bottom line is if they're coming to, if a new hotel is in the perimeter area, they're either with us or they're a competitor.
Well,
So
again,
we-
you don't have any economy hotels, but at the same time, we don't have any convention space. So I mean, when
Right.
you look at the Cumberland area, they don't have MARTA, we do.
Right.
What can we bring to this market to beef it up, to make it more desirable? And I think knowing the limited amount of event space that we have, it's rather limited as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is. And that's something that I think we could do and then kind of look at it in two different parts. Feasibility of a convention center or feasibility of additional meeting space attached to one of our existing hotels. I know it's a challenge having a standalone convention center without a hotel attached because, it's, a lot of the sports group that would work. Some of the other social military Smurfy type groups, but for corporate and associations, if they're not attached to the.
Again, you have the possibilities of new hotels coming
Right.
almost directly abutting the MARTA station and or the mall. So please, I would personally, I'd love for you to take a little bit of money, talk to your board, talk to the city, talk to anybody, just my idea. I'd love to make sure you're ready to answer that question if somebody were to come to you and ask.
Great point.
Thank
Be
you, sir.
Glad to do that.
Thank you very much. Next year, can we have a PowerPoint, please, so that the people at home can see?
Yeah, I know I sent one. so I
Okay,
thought it was-
okay, I'm sorry. I don't know what
Okay.
happened there, but
No
just
problem.
Eric, if you can make sure that whatever was shared with the city gets loaded onto the city website as where it's supposed to be. Thank you.
Perfect.
And thank you very much for what you and your team have done.
Again, I want to thank my team.
Thank
What a
you.
great team.
And your board. Thank you. Oh, all right. Okay. Yeah, I think it just needs to be on the website for the public to see. Thank you. Okay. Whenever you're ready.
Next item is approval of a facility usage agreement with Dunwoody Senior Baseball. Brent Walker.
Thank you. As y'all know, we met 2 meetings ago. I brought the Athletic Association facility usage agreements for council to approve. And then the usage agreement for Dunwoody Senior Baseball was tabled for a discussion about the potential of offering softball programs from Dunwoody High School and Peachtree Middle School at the fields. We have come back with a revision to the usage agreement. It's in the last sentence of the memo, basically carving out time for the softball program within the usage agreement, which basically states that Dunwoody Senior Baseball will have basically their standard times that they've had historically, excluding the West Field during August 1st to October 31st from 4 to 7 p.m. Monday through Thursday, which would allow for programming of the softball program. We've discussed this with John Crawford and Jerry Weiner with Dunwoody Senior Baseball. And while they do have concerns about the impact of what that has on their game schedule for the fall, they do understand the need for softball in our community, are willing to work with us on trying to come up with procedurally how this will all work together. But tonight we're asking that you approve the usage agreement with that language in it. That language will allow us to work with both organizations once schedules start becoming more firm for the fall season to hopefully allow for both programs to be able to utilize time on the field during that time frame. So it's still a little bit fluid in the practical sense of once we get into the season, but I think this language allows a little bit of flexibility, but also gives some guaranteed time to the softball program.
Okay, I'll start on this end. Does anybody have anything? Rob?
Just a couple of things. When this came before us last time, there was some discussion of cost to convert it back and forth. Do we have a ballpark of what we think it'll cost operationally to transition it between the two uses?
Sure. A ballpark for the ballpark.
That wasn't even an intentional pun.
Yes, so we reached out to Shaw Turf, who was our initial installer when we built the fields. Had them come out and give us a quote. We just got it today, actually. I finally was able to push and get it in today. Between what they recommended and the mound, I think we can do the conversion for around $50,000. That means the striping, the tick marks, temporary fencing for softball at the 225-foot mark for center field. If we did switch out the mound for a new portable mound, that would be easier to relocate other than what's out there. But we still have some procedural things that we need to work through, but I think the total cost is going to be somewhere in that $50,000 mark.
So assuming that in this, the way this is set up now, that we do this again the following year, is that a recurring expense or is it a reduced?
That
It's a
is
one-time.
one-time.
Okay. That's all I have right now.
Can you speak to the safety of the portable mound as was mentioned in public comment?
Sure. So there's a variety of them, and the one that they spoke of is a very high-end portable mound. And they make different portable mounds for different uses. Some are for practice. The biggest concern is a lot of the portable mounds have edges that don't kind of taper out. They're more straight up and down. Those are more for practice. They do make portable mounds that are made for games. They're a little bit bigger, a little heavier, but we're continuing to look for one that would still be portable and safe for gameplay and not just a practice mound.
Stacy, Joe, John.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. So the agreement is for the, looks like softball to use it from 4 to 7 on the one field for several months. I heard there's gonna be 8 o'clock games for the boys. How does that convert over and how fast does that happen? When you said fences are gonna be up or down and mounds moved, how does that work?
So again, that's some of the procedural things that we'll need to work out. And I have a meeting with Jeff Cantwell with the softball group next week. And we've gotten some comments from Dunwoody Senior Baseball about how that transition works from one team coming on, one team going off, and who's responsible for setting the mound, who's responsible for moving the fences, that kind of thing. In the quote that we received this morning, a fence was included in that from Shaw. I haven't had an opportunity to look at that fence to see what it would take in terms of getting off and on the field, how portable it is. And that's why that quote is still kind of in the air until I'm able to dig in a little bit better and see if that fence is adequate or if we may have to go to a different fence that's more portable. But the idea is that there will be some shared responsibility in moving things on and off the field between the two organizations, depending on what the condition is when you get there.
I know that we, the city, have some funds for equity sports funding. So is the city going to be paying those expenses? Or it sounds like you're saying move the expenses to the organizations, but I'm trying to understand who's paying for what. I'm trying to understand.
Right. I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about the procedure of removing the items from the.
Well,
field.
first there's a procedure, but then there's the paying for it. So I'm
Right.
trying to understand both.
We have not gotten to the point of discussion with that yet with the softball association about funding for the conversion or the items that would need to be placed out there. Certainly, if this is something the city wants to pursue, we do have it within the city's parks budget to realize it at that price point. It's not something that would be too detrimental to our program, but again, to your point, where that funding comes from within the city budget is still to be decided.
And do we have a service agreement with the softball association?
Not yet. We will be bringing that. They have a draft of the usage agreement that they've reviewed with their board just this past week, and I plan to bring it in Q1 of next year.
All right, so we're modifying this one, but don't have one for the girls softball as of yet.
Correct, but the language in theirs mimics this one. So it's the same time frame that would be allocated to them. The reason is why this one is coming tonight is because they have play starting February. They've already booked time starting first of the year. So we need to get this agreement in place for the beginning of 2023. The softball program won't start till August of 23. So we still have some time to iron out some of the procedural stuff with them and if any of that needs to be reflected in their agreement, we can add that in and bring it to you at a later date to make sure that that all parties involved understand what's going to happen, understand the need for it, and are okay with the way we're proceeding.
Okay, I remember a conversation about possible field space in Doraville. If again, for the, say, the Peachtree Middle School field, Doraville's in the same jurisdictional area to a certain extent. Is that where they're at now, or I guess we're still trying to find them space in Dunwoody?
So I did reach out to the director at Doraville. There is space available until 6 p.m. at Honeysuckle Park until another association has usage rights for it at that time. So it is available until 6 p.m. every day, Monday through Friday. We're still looking at that field as an opportunity for a variety of programs, but it is there.
Okay, so there's space available in Doraville. I'm trying to understand. We are reaching out to allow the softball to use the field, that one field, for several hours a day. There's a lot of conversion costs or time. And we don't really have a set schedule from them as of yet. So if they only need it Monday, Tuesday nights, not Wednesday, Thursday, at that point, the fields could convert back to Dunwoody Senior, have somebody lease it at that point. But by that time, the scheduling is kind of in the books and it's hard to redo the schedule at that point, right?
So the way to work out is they will have their season schedule well in advance of August. Their game schedule, their practice schedule, the way softball plans to operate is they will use the fields 3 to 4 nights of that Monday through Thursday, because they will have away games also, or they may have home games there at that field.
Right.
There's also still the field at the high school that's adequate for games also. So there is still opportunity for them to utilize the high school field for games earlier in the fall before it starts getting dark because it's not lit. And you're absolutely correct. There is some flexibility that is still there, even though this time frame is kind of open-ended in terms of what could happen between it. We do think there's an opportunity for once Dunwoody Senior Baseball gets their schedule together, because once the season starts for fall, it's not practice anymore, it's just games. So they know they would love to have 4 games a night, 2 on each field. From the months of August to October 31st, they can't realize that, but there may be an opportunity to still squeeze some practice times in there before 2 games in the evening for Dunwoody Senior Baseball. There's also, whenever there's a away game, that opens the field up for Dunwoody Senior Baseball. They put in their schedule well in advance of their fall season too. So we'll be able to meld those together.
Okay, so the field space will be identified well in advance so that both associations can maximize the field use as possible.
Correct.
To where that might not be Monday through Thursday, like you say, the away games, things of that nature,
Correct.
where Dunwoody Senior Baseball can squeeze in rain makeup dates, if nothing else. I don't know, whatever else, something.
And one other thing is the baseball fall program doesn't really get going until September. So August is not really a problem.
Right.
And then as we get into the game schedule, hopefully we'll have some of that fluidity between the two that we can move them on and off the field, even on the same day, to be able to get games in and have practices. We also have batting cages. We have lots of other opportunities other than just the fields at that
Do
facility.
we have anybody in the audience or for comment for the softball association? Is there anybody here that can say that this would work?
I did speak with Jeff Cantwell earlier today, and they had a softball board meeting last Wednesday, and Brent had sent them the usage agreement, and they are ecstatic.
Okay, since we don't have an agreement with them, we haven't heard public comment from them. I'm just trying to
Well,
understand.
we've heard a
I
lot.
don't want to finalize something without hearing from them. I mean, I'm trying to understand.
We've heard a lot of public comment from softball parents, but regarding this, they are ecstatic and are like Jeff's going to meet with Brent. They're willing to work out the details and have access to a field in Dunwoody.
Okay.
And the way the language is written in the agreement too, there's still flexibility for the city to make that determination. Even though it excludes that time frame from them and allocates it towards in a future agreement to softball, we still have, the city has final say in how the field is used and by which organization. So we'll always have that flexibility.
No, I understand the flexibility, as long as we're giving them enough time to set their schedules. It's just when it comes down to it, there's also costs and availability, and we're melding two together, and we're just trying to hopefully that it works. And right now, it's so far in advance, and there's no schedules, and there's no specifics, and there's no cost. We're not sure on the costs and who's paying for what. I have questions. I'm hopeful that we can make this work. The gentleman from Dunwoody Senior Baseball was talking about playing from the outfield where second base would be home. Is that feasible? How does that work?
So my concern with that is for practice, it would be fine. For a game, there's some liability concerns and some considerations have to be made. If spectators were on the field, there is potential for injury from fly balls, whatever. We have safety netting there for a purpose, and it protects the spectator from the game. There's also the way that athletic fields are lit. They are gridded out, and the candle has to be a certain amount in a certain spot of the field. And they are done in a certain way for each sport. Soccer is different than baseball, is different from football. The Musco system we have there is focused and lit for the infield versus the outfield.
I understand.
And it just opens us up to some liability and concerns if we were to change that situation.
Yeah, no disagreement. I'm just trying to understand the philosophy of what the options were. Thank you. I have no other questions.
Go ahead, Stacey.
I just have one comment for the ARP committee. We have $1 million allocated to recreational equity. So it would more than cover the ballpark figure of 50,000 for the
That's
ballpark.
where the funds should come from. That's where the funds, without a pun, should come from. I have a couple of questions. And one is, in the public comment, one of the speakers said that, you have all these children playing, but your report was not transparent. And of the 31 teams that played in the fall league, and forgive me if I wrote that down wrong, how many of those are Dunwoody based teams? How many come? I think that's a middle school league in the fall. How many of those? Oh, in high school, how many of those teams are Dunwoody teams? I'd like to understand. It's not in their usage report. If you're going to my opinion is just the mayor, and I'm not speaking for council, but if you're going to eliminate play or players in order for us to provide space for our softball program, it seems to me that we ought to ask some of the teams that are not Dunwoody based to find practice space near home. My preference would be that we up the percentage of kids from Dunwoody if we're lowering the overall number, if possible. It's just my 2 cents, but it seems to me that it's a Dunwoody facility. And while we know that we exist in a baseball ecosystem, it's really important that we serve the children of the community that financially supports the facility. Tom.
Yeah, I'll just add to that. I'm sure that's residency can be easily determined, but you got to be careful not to just go by the school, because we have Dunwoody residents that play at Chamblee, play at Marist, play at Pius, play at Wesleyan,
Right.
and all those teams play there. But we can get I agree with you on the residence point.
And I would argue that particularly every other school should have their own practice facilities. And the children from Dunwoody are likely a minority on each of those teams, based on my experience with those schools and as a once private school parent myself. And that we're all in the same shortage of fields across Metro Atlanta, probably across North Georgia. But in order to accommodate women's softball, we might just have to get a little creative and raise the bar. I think raising expectations on everyone to do their fair share is not a terrible thing.
No doubt.
Actually, I have some numbers now.
Okay.
Hold on one second.
Mhm.
This isn't specific to fall
Yeah.
a league, but
Right.
well, so, I will say about almost 50% of their players are DeKalb County. One thing you have to keep in mind with middle school, is that all of the feeder programs from Brookhaven, Chamblee, Doraville, Sandy Springs, all surrounding there, they all offer Little League, but we're the only ones that offer middle school.
I thought Sandy Springs offers middle
So
school. They
if
don't.
They offer any middle school programs, they're not as robust as ours is. So a lot of Sandy Spring kids come to our middle school program. So while it's easier to promote and have like a more of a resident Little
Mhm.
League program, it gets a little more difficult when you're dealing with middle school.
I understand that, but I would hate for. I think that our priority ought to be to serve Dunwoody children in the fall ball program that's not travel. Where possible by raising and Dorville, I don't even think has rec anything. I don't think they have baseball. Do they?
They have Little League.
They do have Little League?
They are partnering with Chamblee to do a
Okay.
intergovernmental Little League program.
Good. But just my point is that if we're gonna cut use, it should be focused first and foremost on the teams that are not primarily Dunwoody kids. And that's just my opinion. I'm one voice and one vote up here. But we ought to be advocating for my responsibility as mayor is to advocate for the children in my community. How's that?
I agree. And so, I'm sorry, Mayor.
Yeah.
By city, this is total players for participation by resident. It's about 17% Dunwoody, 24% Sandy Springs, 13 Chamblee. So
You're not helping. I mean, just helping, but that's a lot of Sandy. I mean, I understand again that we're in an ecosystem and we don't offer Little League. I want to be clear that I understand that ecosystem thing. I'd like to see us, if we're going to have to make, if we're making changes, that the Dunwoody kids don't feel the brunt of it. And I believe that softball is really is Jeff Cantwell's program open to?
It's Peachtree School.
Right, so it's Dunwoody and Dorville,
Yeah.
right? Okay, all right,
Or Dunwoody High School. So
right,
yes, it
yes,
is.
it's Dunwoody. Okay, John.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I agree with you in the sense of the Dunwoody students and Dunwoody residents not being harmed. That being said, when we formed this city many years ago, we looked at what services were being provided around us and looked at Little League baseball, football, basketball, and things of that nature. When it came to baseball, many Dunwoody residents go to Murphy Candler and we go to Sandy Springs. We don't go anywhere else. We go to the JCC, but we go outside our city limits for Little League baseball, primarily outside because we never had anything to offer. That being said, the city of Dunwoody had two very nice baseball fields for middle and high school and the Dunwoody Senior Baseball Facility. And that was our contribute.
Right.
That's how we added to the community.
Right, contribution.
Contribution.
Right, to the
community,
ecosystem,
to the
right.
greater good, because we offered Dunwoody Senior Baseball. And we
Absolutely.
offered we offered no Little League.
Right,
Our little kids went
absolutely.
somewhere else and their big kids came to us.
Absolutely.
And on top of that, we almost had an agreement talking our city leaders at the time about how to share services. We also said that your kids are our kids and our kids are your kids. And we really don't want to ever raise prices to have Dunwoody kids pay more or less at any program, because once we do something here, Brookhaven is going to say Dunwoody kids pay double for Little League. So it's a slippery slope. And I think we need to be careful on how we do it, because again, every municipality cannot offer every service. And as much as I want to give the girls softball, and I'm going to work to make that happen, I also have to be very careful to try to maintain the services that we're providing, not only to Dunwoody, but to others, but in the sense of fairness, because they are providing our children equity as well.
Right.
So I just want to make sure that's.
No, I'm not talking money, and my primary concern, and I know John's heard it from me before, is that if there's private school teams, I think they should be practicing at their private schools.
I
And
just want to make sure that that's.
if they have baseball fields, they should be using them even for their middle schools. And with that, this is an action item, and then we have to go back to the last item because we were supposed to vote. I apologize.
Move to approve.
Moved by Stacy,
Second.
second by Tom. Any further questions or discussion? Seeing none, I call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, Jessica, that passes unanimously. Mr. Bernard, we were supposed to vote on number 11 because it said consideration. Do we just go backwards? Okay. We were supposed to approve the budget. So
Move
we
to
need,
approve.
moved by Tom.
Second.
Oh, wait, Jessica, are you ready? Sorry, you ready? Okay, moved by Tom,
Second.
second by Rob. Any further discussion? Sorry, they all left. I'll send an email. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I call the question. All in favor of approving their budget? Discover. Aye. Any opposed? That passes unanimously. Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is contract with Ogletree Enterprises for landscaping at Spalding Drive and Chamblee Dunwoody Road, John Gates.
Mayor, Council.
Thank you for being here.
Before you, we have a request to approve a contract for Ogletree Enterprises for landscaping at Spalding Drive and Chamblee Dunwoody Road. We received two proposals when we opened this bid. One was from Ogletree and the other one was from Greener Pastures. Ogletree was the most responsive and responsible bidder. So we accepted their bid and we put it through a bid analysis. Upon reviewing that analysis, we found that, or we discovered that some of the quantities that Ogletree had bidded were not sufficient. And so we discovered that they actually bidded on a document that was in the bid document, but not the correct document. So we asked them to, basically the discrepancy involved tonnage. That was the big ball game, tonnage. We went from 20 tons of hardwood mulch to 220 tons of hardwood mulch. So it increased the price accordingly. And so we asked them to revise that number. It did not impact their status as being the most responsive and responsible. They still were the low bidder that we were dealing with. So we're asking the council to authorize the mayor, city manager, or the designee to execute all documents necessary and proper for a contract in the amount of $78,936 with Ogletree Enterprise Incorporated for landscaping at Spalding Drive and Chamblee Dunwoody Road. And also to authorize additional funding of up to $12,500 for periodic watering if weather conditions warrant during the first year after planting. So that's where we are.
Questions? I'll start on this end. Anybody?
Okay, thank you, John. Good to see you. And Todd, thank you. I think most of the questions and concerns we had at least that I had at the last meeting were addressed in the updated information. So I appreciate that. Just the watering, is that something that we're gonna have to request from them? Will they be monitoring that? How will we determine how much additional watering is needed or if it's needed at all? Is that something that the company handles on their own?
I'll let Todd address that.
Typically, that's the way it works. They'll, in the winter, I mean, obviously, you're not going to be watering in December, January, February, typically. But as you get into the summer months, they'll be monitoring that. The motivation for that is that they have a 1-year warranty on all the material. We'll do a walkthrough at 11 and a half months to confirm that everything's hardy and growing. They'll remove the staking at that point and replace any dead material at that time.
Okay, thanks. That's all I have. Thank you.
Just a question. When we first looked at this, there were some questions about site prep and soil amendments and why Ogletree seemed really low compared to both our own estimate and the other estimate. Did we ever get any more detail or information about that particular item?
Well, normally in the bidding process, that type of review is constant in terms of why one vendor pricing structure looks this way versus the other vendor's pricing structure. They all have different ways of achieving their fair market price, if you will, in terms of revenue return on the investment. They may lose on one item and gain slightly on another item. So we tend to look at the bottom line. And the bottom line is, what is your bid to get this particular project done? And we're gonna hold you responsible for getting it done at that price. So that's how we address that.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Catherine.
Did the arborist review the plant list? Is this how you come up with the particular trees?
The Teresa, TJ Shell is the landscape architect. And she was the one that presented or prepared the documents. It was done in conjunction also, I'll say, with Woodland Forest, that neighborhood. There was a vested interest on their part to,
Oh, good.
so.
Okay, yes, that's what I wanted to hear. Thank you.
Stacy, Joe.
Mr. Gates, I want to thank you for your years of service to the city. I'm not saying goodbye, but I'm just seeing you up here. You know, it's the holiday season. And I just want to thank you for everything you do, for keeping us up and up. You're doing a stellar yeoman's job.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I'll echo that. It's always good to see you, John. It was pointed out that we removed a number of trees for this project and we were actually putting back more than we took out. Is that right?
Correct.
So not that you're the keeper of the overall number of the tree count up or down based on how many trees we take out and put back, but this is a number going in the right direction. So for that, I thank you.
Anybody else? All right, this is an action item.
Move to approve.
Moved by Rob,
Second.
second by John. All in, any further discussion or questions? Thank y'all for bringing this back improved. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes unanimously. Thank you. Mr. Vanicki, you can make your way up here.
Valerie Hicks.
Next item on the agenda is American Rescue Plan, not-for-profit funding. Mr. J.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is the second round of funding being done through the American Rescue Plan. To let the public know how the process has worked, $2 million was originally allocated by the council towards not-for-profits in the neighboring areas, not just exclusive to Dunwoody. They can operate outside and serve Dunwoody citizens. And then an RFQ was put on the street to get a list of qualified vendors. The way it's working is these are all not-for-profits which provide services that we do not have city staff to do. So it's taking the public-private partnership in a slightly different direction. The council has already allocated just shy of 1 million of this in the first round. And in this case, we have 5, 6, 7 different agencies which will be receiving funding if approved by council. The contracts are attached to this, but I'd like to go through where this funding is going and kind of the background for each. The Dunwoody Preservation Trust was actually in group 1. And staff have been working with them in trying to come up with a good way to work this funding with its intent with them. And this is when we're doing somewhat uncharted ground. They'll be using it in 2 different circumstances. One will be either using subsidized or free camp vouchers for those that are eligible. They're going to try to get that program off. And the second program is they've not really been the type of organization that's worked with field trips. So they're going to work with the Title I schools in the area to see if they can start arranging that this spring. So it's new area. It's also one of those where the allocation of the funding, if we can't pull this off, then it'll come back to the city. But it's a chance to do something where there's been no previous funding available for. Second on your list is Clubhouse Atlanta. And this is a rather unique one, which has a slight economic development portion to it. Clubhouse Atlanta works with those with disabilities to get them paying jobs in the area. And this is one of those where this funding will be seed money for a position with them. It won't pay it for the full year, and they know that it's once given to them, it's gone. But to work with them on establishing contact with the business community to help find employment for the disabled in the area. We've also talked with our own economic development department in Rosemary there about working with them in some fashion with this to build some type of synergy. Next on your list is Adult Day, and it's Adult Day of Dunwoody. I want to be very specific. It's to the foundation. Adult Day of Dunwoody proper doesn't qualify for it. But the foundation is a not-for-profit that allows people to get vouchers based off of disabilities and income to use their services during the day. So it's specific to Dunwoody residents, and then that way it can route through there. It's in much the same way our other not-for-profits do payments for rent or utilities. It's just a different avenue that we've not had before. The next two on here are ones that were in the CARES funding. They're Community Assistance Center and Corners Outreach, and this is a great deal of direct assistance, $100,000 for each of those. Two others on here are the YMCA, the Cowart one, and this is specifically for them to do various programs, and it will be, even though they are not in Dunwoody, it will be for Dunwoody residents that participate in there. We all know that there's a lot of cross 285 traffic over for that. And the last one is with Temple Emmanuel. They are working with their own version of Backpack Buddies, and this is the same, similar to the one that we did in the other one. With approval of this item, all of the contracts will be executed the next week, and I'm hoping to get checks to them before New Year's. Can't guarantee it, but we will try our best.
Questions? I'll start with John. That's okay. Right. Go ahead.
Sure, you want to start with the right side and give them a chance?
All right, well, we could start with the middle and go.
Darn it. All right, Jay, so. What was my question? Has the Assistance League ever asked for anything that you're familiar with? The Assistance League?
Nope.
Interesting.
We've put
They don't serve much in Dunwoody.
Yeah, they were at the, anyway.
Yeah, they're
just
the
asking.
parade every year, but they're not, yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to know, what will be our remaining fund balance after this tranche?
Hate that word.
If Linda was sitting on the
Approximately.
back row, she'd give you the evil eye.
Right.
Tranche is our evil word now.
Right.
No, but it is the 670,000 or so. And the way this is structured is the RFQ was designed so that the council approved it and then amounts were allotted to them. And that's what you're doing in this part. If one of them, and I'm just going to put down community assistance here, assistance center, since we've worked with them before, direct assistance money is the money that moves the fastest. So after they finish with their allotment, they can come back to council for that remaining portion. We don't plan to issue another RFQ since we've already done two of them separately.
Right, so 660 is after this whole goes, we still have that to consider for another
That will come back to you at some point.
bucket.
Bucket.
Bushel.
Perfect. Bushel. Let's use bushel. It's almost.
All right, what about auditing, reporting? Did
all
did we allot any additional staffing headcount or any kind of, or is it all, are you handling?
Between Mr. Plato and myself, we're doing most of the auditing, and Don Dryden, our accounting manager, will be helping us with it. What we did was we structured quarterly reporting, somewhat a little bit different from CARES. And the way, since the first part of checks came out, we expect the end of year quarter reports to be almost nothing. You know, some may have expended, some may have not. But at the 1 month after the end of each quarter, we're reporting back to council on the results of them and checking on them. They also, no matter what happens, have to provide us proof of where the expenditures went to. It'll fall into one of two categories. The first one will be direct spending, and Malachi's will be building something. So that's an easy one to show. On those that are providing direct assistance to individuals, they'll be giving us affidavits with identifiers redacted of those that received assistance, but affidavit too that this has gone to a Dunwoody resident at this time for these particular services.
Just from a staff, you know, from yourself, a scope, creep, et cetera, adding to your. But you're fine with that, right? You're not asking for additional staff assistance.
No, we are working with it, and we've got a slightly well-oiled machine with it right now.
Okay. So let me just get into and it's all template, and they've got the appendices and so on. So I get that. And it says upon request by city staff shall provide, but they are going to do it. They're not waiting for you to ask.
There's a reminder on my calendar on January 2nd to ask them.
Right. So it's not like they're just, oh, by the way, and then it's a surprise and then it's a reaction. City may withhold funding, yada, yada. And then so my question is about a payment schedule versus, okay, they're all kind of like, we'll get it basically when the contract's approved, we're going to give you some money and then we'll give some more cash. But I might just, where I'm thinking is, you know, you say the city may withhold funding. There's that caveat, right? If they're not doing something. So are we having a spend throughout the year? Are we hold back till, I mean, because I see that maybe we're giving them maybe 1, 2, maybe 3, and then it's done. So what happens toward the end of the year if we've already given them the money, all of it, and then they're not meeting?
Oh, okay, here's the best way to think of it. And for smaller ones, we tend to do it in 2 bushels.
Yeah.
The word of the day. So we tend to do it in two installments, but for some of the biggers, we're doing it in 4. Basically, they have to prove to us the first quarter of it. We returned during CARES funding. Some of these places have trouble, and I'm not going to say it's actually with cash flow. It has to do with accounting. When we said we can give us the receipts and we can do it, well, their own bookkeepers were saying we don't like it that way. So what we said was, let's design something where we will advance them funding, and it's no more than half, and that's for the smaller ones. And then and I'm just going to say, one of these, I don't think any of them will, but comes to us in June and has not spent a dime, we can crawl it back at that point. We'd have to come to council to do it. I want to make sure that it's still transparent on that. But this way it gives them a kind of carrot to do it and do it well so that they can get the next check and the next check. If they get all of the installments, and let's just go back to the ones that are 100,000s that we've done with CARES before, we are pretty sure those direct assistance fundings will go pretty fast. They'll come back to council to say, instead of 100, can we do another 50 at that time?
Yeah, because like CSC, you've got the 25 and then another 25. It's 100K total. So it's implied where are they getting the other 50 throughout the year? But really, I just want to make sure that we're we've got a website out there. People talk about transparency. It's all posted out there. So you keep this pretty well updated, pretty accurate. So
I thank Jennifer and also Linda and
Amen.
Richard for every
Yeah.
time an action's taken on this, it's on the website the next day.
right. So wow, that's so thank you very much.
I have a question. On particularly with some of the agencies that haven't done this before. In the agreements, is there a deadline by which they have to have accessed these funds before they're considered not using them?
The contracts all expire at the end of 2023 unless approved by council to extend.
Okay.
But why I didn't ask that question is my understanding is if they haven't done anything in like a first quarter, second quarter,
They don't get any money.
they don't get any money.
Well, okay. Let's, and I don't want to I hate
Just
to
make
jinx
up an agency. It doesn't just be pretend.
Agency X
Right.
gets $10,000. So we give them 5,000. If by June 30th, they haven't shown us proof of spending it, we will probably be recommending to council to crawl back the funding and terminate the grant.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. So this is an action item.
Move to approve.
Moved by Joe,
Second.
second by Rob. Any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, I call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Very much.
Chief.
Next item is discussion of mutual aid agreement between Georgia State University and the City of Dunwoody. Chief Grogan.
Good evening, Mayor and Council again.
Mhm.
This is an agreement, actually a redo of an agreement we've had previously in 2009. When Georgia Premier College was here, we had this agreement with them. And then when Georgia State University took over in June of 2016, we also signed this agreement and updated it. And now, because the university, some rules related to them require them to update it every 5 years rather than perpetually, it's back before you guys. It's the exact same agreement, and just ask that, you guys approve it, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
John, any questions?
Yeah, Chief, when was the last time we did any exercises or work or coordination, or give me a little overview of what we're doing to partner with their police department, whether it be for exercises or day-to-day operations?
Sure. Not much, frankly. We don't have a whole lot of interaction with them. They only have a few folks on that campus. They have a lieutenant that's in charge. We interact with that person quite frequently with some of our supervisors, but we've not had to actually enact this agreement. They've not asked us for any help.
Right.
And we've not had to ask them for any assistance.
I guess I'm just thinking, in case of emergency, do your officers know the campus, know the parking deck? Do they know the layout of the buildings? I want to make sure that if called upon to serve that community, that we're ready. And that's really my only hope be for that. So thank you. I appreciate all you do.
just
Yeah.
actually taking on what John added that, but is there obviously there's operational security and not going low level of preparation, but if they have an emergency action plan of response to active shooter, et cetera, drills, would you do any, would there be coordination with that at level, those kind of exercises?
Sure, absolutely.
Right. As an aside, indirectly related, we're trying to establish better relationships with the college in general, with the university. So I'm assuming you've got a name and a phone number and a contact of somebody there. Sure, it goes without saying with Eric and so on, we'd like to create some kind of a stakeholder, a phone line, at least a hotline, and where we can have that engagement about partnering with a lot of other initiatives in the community, partnering with them. So
Absolutely.
I hope we can kind of have that introduction. Thank you, Chief.
My question is do you have this with like MARTA police and all that, or is it
We
just?
have, yes, I think Sandy Springs, we signed a round of these sometime back, Atlanta, Sandy Springs, Brookhaven, most of the agencies around us.
And they just generally last forever, but something
Yes.
is, okay.
Yes, and there's also we did a general one that's based on GMA, kind of a state one. It basically says anybody could ask and we could help, that kind of thing.
All right, this is an action item.
Move to approve.
Moved by John,
Second.
second by Tom. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Chief. That
Thank
passes
you.
unanimously.
I am acting in the place of Michael Starling tonight. He was called away, and we'd like to just discuss a little bit about the RFP concerning the Woolmeck Road art part. And Michael Smith is here to help me in case I fall short on some of the explanations. But for those that don't know, we did receive a qualified RFP, and the price to do the entire project was a little bit pricier than we thought, around $500,000. So we went back and we have been talking to the artists and the like about doing something along the lines where we'll be doing portions of it and windows of it to reduce the cost. And we'll be coming back to council with that at a later date, but we just wanted to update y'all publicly on it.
I told Michael we would talk about it just a little bit. I thought you were gonna like have a slideshow or something, so. Right, so, so my perspective on this wall is that while it's in a public place, it's not in a gateway to the city. And I don't think we should spend $500,000 there for, well, I'm not sure we should spend $500,000 ever for a piece of art. But never say, yeah, never. But I think that given the location of this, that doing something scaled, not just to the wall, but to the location makes sense. And, it's also in a somewhat residential area. I think whatever we come up with should be proportional to, so it looks good, but is, makes sense to where it is. And that's my 2 cents. And I told Michael that I would talk to y'all about that. I mean, that's essentially kind of what they're recommending is something smaller, affordable. And if we're going to spend a lot of money, have it be somewhere. Go ahead, John.
In Chicago, there's a very large bench, continuous bench concrete that probably runs for 3 blocks. And they rent out, they have a art project every year where you get your 3 feet and you get your 3 feet and you get your 3 feet. And it runs forever. I mean, I guess I want something there. I want something the community can buy into, whatever it is. I don't want it to be a graffiti magnet location, so I'd love for it to be easily cleaned. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of what options are there outside of us spending money for the artists. Is there anything that our art community can come up with to do low cost, but yet have community involvement?
I believe you compensate people for their time and talent, especially on a project like this. It's likely to be just complicated from its scope and everything else. I think there are opportunities to use local, well, we just did it with the students and we still compensated them, by the way, not $500,000. And I think it's important, you know, just from the look, I think it's important to also look at the location and people live right there. And so we'll turn it over to the art commission will get this in January and then they'll come back to us. They just wanted us to give some sort of feedback on the idea of not doing the whole wall. And if council was okay with not doing the whole wall. Yeah, just go. No matter. Well, John, yeah, that's fine. Right. No, I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
Sorry, left side again. But anyway, I'm just reading the memo though. Are we gonna go by what the memo's saying here, or are we just not reading the memo? Because it says staff is recommending we move forward with framing out a portion of the wall with granite. And the mosaic will be installed within the frame. So is this what we want to talk, is this part A for the discussion tonight, or are we just having a broader, higher conversation?
Well, I think that there'll be one, given their current estimates, there'll be one frame and maybe two. But I think what he's looking for tonight is guidance on simply not doing the whole wall. Which maybe it doesn't say that, but that's what he
No,
and
it
I
doesn't.
talked about.
It doesn't say that.
Right.
So thanks for the additional
But I mean, I
feedback.
think that, you know, it would take us, it would, yeah.
Michael Smith, what's a rough project cost of that Womack Shanley Dunwoody? Just the construction build out price. I'm just gonna get a relative numbers. Was it 2.5, something like that?
No, it's not that much. I think
No?
it's $1.5 million.
Yeah, okay, thanks. So what are we doing? Like just doing like
1%.
times 0.01 equals 1%, 15,000.
Right.
Okay, yeah.
So, yeah.
Got it. Order of magnitude.
Right.
1%.
But-
Okay.
Right.
That's so I think, look, if we could go back to our commission and have them come up with some low hanging fruit, other options then that we don't gonna spend $500,000.
Right. Well-
Versus us figuring out. I'm just gonna say that.
I think, again, what Michael was looking for was guidance on, there had been some talk about doing the whole wall when he first came to us. I think he wants
Well-
us to be okay with not doing, right.
We talked about that's a facade, the granite, and that he's gonna, I asked him, I went out on
Right.
tour with him last month. He said, oh, I'm sorry, Michael's here. I'm
Right.
sorry, I'm talking behind you back.
Mhm.
So Michael, you're pouring the hard concrete and structurally and, safety wise, that'll be one part, right? And then the facade, the granite is another part, right?
That's right. No, what's there today is
Is
perfectly fine structurally. It's
Structurally.
just how you face it,
Right.
how you want to make it.
And
look.
it's already been paid for, the granite. And I mean, in the contract
Well,
price.
yeah, when we talked about before, I think it's 50 or 60,000 in the budget for the granite. And so I think previously council had said, we don't want to spend any more than that doing this wall. And now that we've gotten this really big estimate, I think Michael just wanted to come back and say, hey, this is out of the range of what we talked about before. We're going to go back to the artist and try to scale it to what we have available to spend on it.
So as far as the builders go, I mean, they've got a contract. And it's in the contract for them to build it. Or put it, install, right?
Correct.
And they're already, and it's in their pricing, and are they like waiting for us now? Are they good to go? Would they start
Will
building?
be waiting on us soon. Like
And-
at some point, we'll have to tell them what to do next.
Well, right, so let's kind of go through that next steps, right? I mean, it's like, you can't leave them hanging. Otherwise, we're gonna, stack up the concrete, leave it set aside, and then call them in 6 months and ask them if they're available to install it. And then they come back and rebid because we're modifying the contract. It's going down a rabbit hole, right? So what are your thoughts, Michael, to do this? What would you prefer
Well,
to see?
I think we still have a little bit of time to try to talk to the artist and see if we can come up with something that works within everybody's expectations. But we have time to do that before we have to tell the contractor yay or nay on installing this granite.
Yeah, so I mean,
Right.
I'm doing a lot of project management. We need to give us a deadline, give them a deadline so that they know what to do.
Right. The art commission meets early in January, so we'll have their input pretty quickly, I think.
Okay, and then the last thing I'd say is, I'll just throw this out as well. We got a $6 million funding for future redo the Shanley Dunwoody corridor in the village, and that's gonna start from Womack and go up to Roberts, correct?
Correct.
So this really is the start of the gateway to the village here. So I would like to see something, doesn't have to be $500,000, but yeah, it's going to be the beginning of a beautiful new downtown Dunwoody right there at that intersection. They will be arriving to a great place, starting that location in the future. Thank you.
Anybody else? Tom?
Michael, while you're up there, this changing, obviously, what we've got planned is just granite face the whole wall. Does creating windows change the pricing of that? Like you would assume that material might go down, but perhaps labor goes up because now they're framing out things that weren't there. So is there any significant change to the cost with either framing it, leaving it alone, or
I don't think there'll be a significant change in cost, but.
up or down? It should be about the same.
Right, yeah, but you know, because we would be putting granite on most of the wall now, all of a sudden, we don't have 60,000 to work with for the art. It's maybe more like 15,000 or something, you know, without getting more money.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I'll just for conversation's point and throwing in my 2 cents. I kind of agree with the point that Joe made, that this is it's not a gateway, but it is an entry into a part of the city that we are hoping to make more significant. And I think that road will be visible for traffic coming northbound on Chamblee Dunwoody, and would be a way of letting people know you've arrived someplace special or significant. It's also worth noting that this wall is adjacent to our arts center, and having public art on the art property makes a lot of sense to me. So I'm in favor of doing what's reasonable. Obviously, I'm not talking $1 million art projects here, but if we can find a way to incorporate some art onto that wall in a reasonable cost, I think it's worth doing. I'd also just note that although there are residences nearby, that wall is not visible from any residences. Across the street is was it AT&T or Bell or whatever it is a switching station. There's no, because I did drive by because that was a concern of mine. There's no, from where I could see, and I might have missed something, but from where I could see, there's no residences that would have a direct view of that wall from their house. So that shouldn't be a driving factor in my opinion. So, but anyway, that's my 2 cents. Thanks.
Hey, Tom, what were the words you just used on you said, I wish I'd written it down, but you were talking really fast, but you said the wall should have a sense. Yeah. So that's the message you should take back to Michael Sarling, that we want. I mean, I think that's a good way to say it. So rather than us, you know, saying what the wall should look like, that it should have a sense that you've arrived somewhere special. I'm going to write that down before I forget it.
But the question is, are we satisfied with a partial design on that wall? And I'm gonna say yes.
Yes, we're satisfied with the partial design, and we want the design to show that you've arrived somewhere special.
With that being said, you should also be size enough to when you're driving in a car looking at it, if it says a word, you should be able to read that word from behind your windshield. So I don't know what the size is, but again, if you're putting the big word Dunwoody somewhere, you know, if you're putting the big D, you should be able to read the big D from behind your windshield. That's all I'm saying.
Right. No, or maybe no words.
Or
So,
on foot or on bike.
right. I think we probably gave you as much getting from us in a hypothetical situation, but thank you.
We'll relay the message to Michael.
Thank you. Right. Okay. All right. With that, public comments. Thank you. City, Eric.
Yes, we will need an executive session to discuss real estate and litigation.
All right, council comments. Anybody?
Yeah, I'd like to just advantage this opportunity to give some props to one of our fellow council members, Member Seconder Joe, organized last week a meeting, a presentation with the Atlanta Regional Commission for Safe Streets, Vision Zero, Complete Streets, and what I believe started with rather modest intentions grew into 99 attendees is the count that I got.
Sold out.
From throughout the entire region, transportation planners, transportation engineers, elected officials. I attended the event. It was a great and very informative event. So Joe, thank you for your initiative in doing that. I think it was great. And it was also, as it was alluded to way in the beginning of the meeting, it was a great commercial for the city of Dunwoody, because a lot of those people got to see the Northwoods Pavilion for the first time, and people were actually inquiring about, hey, how do I rent this out for meetings? So good job, Joe. I just wanted to point that out. Thanks.
Anything?
I'll just say, with the holiday season, be safe on the roads. Be safe. Thank you.
Joe?
No, thanks, Tom. And I was gonna thank staff too for putting that on. I mean, there was a lot of work behind the scenes. Cindy Hanson, she was out there, it was like, you've all put on events and you've had to roll up your sleeves and I just showed up. But it was a wonderful evening. No, it was a wonderful day. No, I didn't just show up. No, we have everybody together and it made it happen. For fun, Wednesday night, if you're into having a nice choir, Dunwoody High School and Peachtree Middle choruses are having a holiday concert this Wednesday night at 7 p.m. at Dunwoody High School Auditorium. There you go.
Shop local, everybody, including the Sproul Gallery, but also our great gift shops in Dunwoody Village, and eat at our restaurants and make good choices, to Councilwoman Altenbacher's point. And with that, I believe I need a motion for executive session.
Move to executive session for purposes of real estate and litigation.
Second.
That was moved by Councilman Harris, second by Rob Price. All in favor, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And that was unanimous, and we'll be back. And Jessica will come back. Supposedly. Gosh, yeah, we. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, hold on one second. Are we rolling? I need a motion to adjourn
To adjourn?
by Tom. Need a second.
Second.
by
Second.
Stacy. Right, it's not. Second by Stacy, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, hearing that passes unanimously. Let me check. I don't have it. Is it in your pocket?